Alright, so here it is, part 2 to what if female Deku was a mimic. Alright, so we'll begin where we left off, with Izumi and Ida headed to UA to take the entrance exam, with them having a conversation along the way, with Izumi stating to Ida to not do the same thing he does as usual when it seems like somebody's about to make a mistake. And they explain it later, do not jump up and try to point it out, okay? As Ida would say that he would try, with Izumi making a pouty face as she'd say, I mean it, Ida. As they would both head in to the auditorium, with President Mike explaining the 0-pointers and explaining the 1-pointers, the 2-pointers, and the 3-pointers, and Ida is about to point out that the 0-pointer isn't there, with Izumi grabbing him by the shoulder, as she's basically glaring at Ida to not do it, with Ida being immediately terrified by this, as he would sit back down. No, he was halfway between sitting up and sitting down, then he sat back down, as President Mike continues his explanation, as they would then do the written portion of the entrance exam, with Izumi and Ida passing it, with Izumi getting slightly higher than Ida. As for this next bit, they are separated due to them going to the same school. They are separated from each other to go to the different training areas. So Ida will be in the same place he is in canon, and Izumi will be in a separate area, as the gates would open. As when President Mike is doing the countdown, Izumi then shifts into a more monstrous appearance, with multiple mouths opening up all over her body, as she would then dash in, with her destroying a large amount of robots, including shifting her hands into quite large claws in order to get rid of the robots a lot faster. So at this point, she has about 75 villain points and 25 hero points, as she would be wiping them all out, with her getting the highest score in her area, as she would be looking around to help people, as she would. So she's in a separate area. I don't think the 0-pointers showed up in the same areas. Actually, I don't think the 0-pointer showed up in different areas, so I'm going to say that doesn't show up. So she finishes the physical portion of the entrance exam with 105 villain points and 75 hero points, which adds up to a total of 180 points altogether, with Izumi getting out from her area. Same with Ida, with Izumi stating that she hasn't had that much fun in ages, as Ida would point out that wasn't supposed to be fun. It was supposed to test their capabilities, as Izumi would then tell Ida that he needs to relax a lot more with her smiling, as Ida would point out that she's probably right, that he would need to pull back on his strictness and how much of a stickler to the rules he is. With Izumi and Ida headed back home, as they would begin their training, as they would be training for the next couple months, not couple months, for the next couple weeks, until their letters arrived from UA stating that they had both passed the entrance exam and were put into Class 1A. With them both being very happy about this, with their uniforms arriving a couple days later, but their parents being very proud that their children had made it into UA. As both Tenya and Izumi would head to UA, with them arriving at Class 1A around the same time, because Ida woke Izumi up early, which Izumi nearly killed him for. And if you'd like me to play the scene out, essentially Ida woke up early and went to wake Izumi up, with Izumi thinking it was an intruder, panicking, and shifting a tail to pin him against the wall, as she would see that was Ida and just reprimand Ida for trying to for waking her up so frantically instead of doing it calmly. As once they arrived there, they then go to their desks, as Ida would begin to reprimand Bakugo for putting his feet on his desk, as he go on his whole shtick about the desks being from previous heroes who have been to the school, and if he put his feet on those desks, it'd be disrespectful to them. With Izumi walking up to Ida and telling him that he needs to calm down. Now, Mineta's in the class at this point, and he's currently, eyeing up Izumi, but he's currently focusing on the essential areas, if you guys know what I'm talking about. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, we all know Mineta's a pervert, so we all know what he's looking at. And they both head back to their desks, with Aizawa coming in, stating that, and the only ones who are quiet are Tenya and Izumi. So he tells everybody else that it took them all about 10 seconds to shut up. This is no good for a hero school except for those two, as he's pointing towards Tenya and Izumi, as he'd say that they need to get that they're doing a quick assessment test and to get these uniforms on. With Uraraka saying what about orientation? With Aizawa saying that this is his class and he gets to do what he wants. As once they get out to the changing rooms, Mineta is immediately trying to peek in on the girls, including Izumi, with Ida immediately stopping that from happening. As Izumi would hear this, and hear Ida stopping this, as she ends up blocking up the hole. With once they have gone out of the changing rooms, she whispers into Ida's ear a thank you, as she would then hug him, as they'd then head out to the field test, with Aizawa passing the ball to Bakugo, asking him how far did he throw his ball in middle school, as Bakugo would give his distance, as he would then throw the ball. Bakugo would then throw the ball and get about 7,000 meters, with everybody doing the same test they did in canon. With Izumi, since Izumi has been training with Ida, she is quite good, and then once it gets to the running test, she sort of like changes her body, since her quirk is mimic, so she sort of like mimics like a cheetah's build, as she would basically during the race, she'd end up beating Ida, as she would shift her mimic, she would head back to her normal appearance, with everybody being surprised that her quirk is so flexible. With Mineta thinking pervertive things, as we all know. As Izumi could feel the pervertive energy emitting off of Mineta, as she is immediately noting down her head to never go near him ever, as she is next in the ball throw, as when she is going through the ball, she sort of like turns her arm into like a those sort of like a rope type, but it gets long, but sort of like endless, as she would tighten up the ball in the loop, which is sort of like her hand, as she would start swinging her arm around and around and around, and end up throwing it, getting about 8,000 meters, which is higher than Bakugo's score, with Bakugo getting pissed at this as he would charge towards Izumi, saying, "Do you think you're better than me?" As Bakugo would, before Aizawa could do anything, Bakugo accidentally, I'm doing this for comedic purposes, accidentally lands, as Aizawa had disabled his quirk. Bakugo was about to explode Izumi, but when his quirk was disabled, he couldn't explode it, so he accidentally sort of like put his hand where Izumi's Bobas were, as Izumi would immediately get pissed by this, as three spiked tails immediately come out from her back, as she is pretty much pissed at this point, as she would end up kicking Bakugo right where the sun don't shine, as Bakugo would be on the floor foaming at the mouth from the pain, as she would walk back to where Ida was, as all the guys are basically now terrified of Izumi, except for Ida, because he knew that she did it in self-defense. With the test ending, and Mineta getting last place with him being expelled, as Izumi and Ida would end up heading home at the end of the day for Izumi to mentally recover from the day that she had, as she is currently laying off some steam in the training room, where she basically shreds the training dummy that was in there to let off some steam as she would come out, and just relax. And that's where I'm going to end it off. Oh yeah, I'm also going to need a ship for this what if. So if you guys have any ideas for the ship, I will put it down. And whichever one gets the most likes wins, and it will be the ship for the series. So I'll see you guys next time.